Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Queen Games Maharani. Let's check it out. So the game is very easy. What you're going to do is put this little spinner in here in the middle of the board, matching it to the quadrant areas based upon the animals. You have the lion, the monkey, the elephant, and the peacock here. You're also going to have these little player tokens here. You're going to put them out in the 4 areas just to notate who's going to be where. You're also going to have, of course, your score tracker here on the 0. Every player is going to get 10 of these little workers they're going to be placing out on the board. They're also going to get their own little personal player board here with these 4 coins depicting the 4 quadrants available in the game. Now you're also going to be dealing out 4 random tiles and putting them on the board with the little arrow pointing down toward this arrow. So whichever player is going, those arrows will be pointed down that way. You also have a bag of tiles off to the area that you will, once you pull a tile, you'll replace it. So turns are very easy. There's only 2 actions you can do, and the main one that you'll be doing a lot is playing a tile. So on your turn, you'll pick a tile and then play it on the board. Now it's important that these tiles do 2 things. First off, they have to go in the quadrant that they're segregated into. As you see here, this one has to go in the monkey quadrant, this one to the elephant, this one to the peacock, and that one to the lion. But as you notice, as you're spinning this around to the next player, those tiles will be going into different areas depending on where the player's looking at them. So that's kind of a neat little thing there. But you have to keep in mind that it has to play in that quadrant. Now, if you want to play outside of the quadrant, let's say I wanted to take this yellow one, not play it in the elephant, but I wanted to play it over here in the monkey realm. So if I do that, I've got to go to my player board here and say, okay, I'm taking an elephant out and putting it in the monkey realm. So flip over this monkey here. That way I can do it. Now I can't do that again until I flip this back over. Eventually you'll be flipping over a lot of these, playing tiles in different areas. And besides laying tiles, another turn you can do instead of laying tiles is to flip back over all of these coins again to give you that ability. And that takes your entire turn. You don't get to place a tile that way. You need to make sure that these little circles or these half circles match up with what's on the board. For instance, I couldn't put this half circle on this one here because there is a circle here. I couldn't play it over here like so because it is blocking out that circle. I could play it like so, which would be fine, or like so, which would be even better. The reason I say that is you want that arrow pointing toward you, whatever your area is. If it's pointing toward you, an additional thing you can do is place one of your workers on that tile. Now by doing that, I would score 1 victory point. Later on in the game, let's say that this token was on here and I got to play it and I'd play it here. Well, now I would get 1, 2 because it's next to 2 blue tiles as long as they're the same color. And so instead of getting that 1 victory point, my second round I got 2 victory points. Now let's say that instead of this, let's say that the yellow one, I draw on the bag and bring out a new one, but let's say the yellow one came back around to me. Well, I want to play this one, so I'd place it here because it would cover that center one. Then I could place a man on it here. I could not place a man on it if it was blue. Let me just point that out here. If it's the same color, you cannot place another man. Only 1 man per color per quadrant. So I could put a blue here, 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 and put a man on it, but any more blue here, nope, it's already attached to a guy. If I want to place another guy in that area, it has to be a completely different color, like this one. So let's say I place the yellow out there. I would get 1 point for that, plus an additional 2 points because I'm next to a man, so 1, 2. It's almost like being on a square with 2 yellows, except I'm being on a square next to 2 men. So you can see how these points can snowball as the game goes on. So in this case, I get 1 point for placing it, and then 2 points for being next to a man of my color. Now I also forgot a very important rule in this game is you can actually place a second tile if you want to, just by giving up 2 victory points. It'll let you put out a second tile in the game. And those are ways that you can score in each quadrant. So all players are moving around, they're placing tiles tiles around the board. They're flipping their coins over if they need to use that secret ability to play a tile out of its quadrant, and then they're scoring points. Now, once one of the quadrants are full, you're going to score that entire quadrant. And how that happens, it's on the player boards. It's on all 4 player boards here. It says, hey, depending on how many people you have in that quadrant, if you see down here, if I had 1 person in that quadrant, I get 4 points. 2, I would have 6, and the more I'd have, the more points I would generate. And once that happens, we would count up all those scores there, and then I'd pick up, all players would pick up any people they have there, and they could put them on the other 3. So you kind of don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because then you're only limited to the amount of men that you have until you score something. But the ones that are scoring quick, you want to get on there. Remember, it has to be on separate colors in a quadrant. I can't have a blue, and let's say this was here too. I couldn't have another guy on blue there. Another player could have one there, kind of block me out. They could take over blue if they place that tile there, and then they could score the other blue tokens too. There's going to be a lot of score fest going on here. But that's basically the game. Once all 4 quadrants are scored, whoever has the most points wins. Now, with any queen game, of course, there are queenies associated to it. The 2 queenies, the first one is these halvesies tokens. As you see, they're kind of 2 of different colors. So you would put these out, replace them in the bag with any of these looking tokens. So you see they're the center circle tokens. You would take those all out and replace them with these halvesy ones. So that means this one can count as a purple and a blue, or a red and a purple, or a green and a black, and so on and so forth. So these are just extra tiles you can shuffle and play in your deck. And the last queenie are wild cards. As you see, the arrows are pointing everywhere. So it doesn't really matter where this face is, but you do have to match up the 1 or 2 half circle areas. But either way you get it, it will always be facing you, which means you can always place someone on that one. And basically, it's a wild card, but it represents a 7th color in the game for you to put maybe another, you can't have 2 workers on the same one, but it would just represent another color in the game to get you some of those extra scoring bonuses, since it is hard to get one of each color in a quadrant. And you would just shuffle these into the bag and draw them out when necessary. And those are the 2 queenies that come with Maharani. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, folks, I say this every time, but it's queen games. I love queen games. I read online about, I didn't even know about this game. There's a ton of games that have come out by Queen Games that have come and gone that I have not, I'm still finding out about. And when I found out about Maharani, I saw it and I saw the board with the spinning and the tile placement. I went, yes, get it. Now, you may be thinking, because a lot of people in my gaming group said, Matt, have you heard of a game called Azul? This is just like Azul. And I was like, really? Because every time I look at Azul, it looks boring. I want to be put to sleep. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I've never played. It's probably a decent game, but it has 0 interest in my mind for me. But when I saw Maharani, I was like, ooh, this looks interesting. And I won't lie, that was an extra incentive, Queen Games. The board's fantastic. How the player turns are very easy to learn. Place a tile, spend 2 victory points, place another tile, and or flip over all of your coins. You're going to use your own little player board of coins. When we first played this game, I said, we're probably not going to use these coins that much. Man, we all used one within the first 2 rounds. I mean, it was already getting that intense. And each one of us took turns flipping back over those coins. And you had to pass on your turn, but it's it's hard to do, but man, what a great game. You got to do it because you want to move these things out of the area. You're trying to find pieces. There is a little analysis paralysis in the game. Sadly, this one has a little bit more than I like. That's the only complaint about it. There are some of my friends who their mind was cracking because they didn't like any of the choices, and they're trying to get them just right. And they're looking at the coins. They already flipped a lot of them over, and they don't want to waste a turn and flip over their coins, and they just sit there for like 10 minutes. It's awful. Not 10. It's probably 5, but it feels like 10 with analysis paralysis. So you do have some bad analysis paralysis issues in here. That's the only negative thing. Other than that, the gameplay is very smooth. and it starts rolling after a while. I mean, usually, should you get the queenies to this? Let me talk about that. Yes, I think you should. This is one game that just shines with the queenies. I think the halvesies one are easier to find than the wild card tiles. Maybe you can find them both. The wild card tiles are nice. They're nice. I always play with them. We didn't play with the halvesies the first time, and ever since then I've regretted it, because halvesies are great because it counts as 2 different colors, which is exactly what you need. You're trying to find that color that matches with everything, and if it matches with 2 things, you're super happy about that. So the halvesies I will always play with, and the wild cards too. This is one of the games where the queenies make the game even better, because the wild card does give you a 7th color. It is hard to get 6, one player of each different color in one quadrant. That's almost impossible to do. Even with the promo tile, we still didn't even get anywhere close to 6. I think the highest I got was like 5 once. And that was just some tough planning, a lot of luck. Yes, there is luck in this game because you're drawing tiles from a bag, so that's luck too. So some people may not like that, but to be honest, for me, it is nice. It's light. It's a lighter game like Queen games do, but it has a lot of replayability for me, and this is a game that's going to stick around my collection. Love, love, love Maharani. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on.